Hello and welcome to the Board Podcast. This week we're going to preview the Week 3 games, joined by Blackie, Brasher and Fui, and we might jump straight into it because it was a pretty depressing set of results we just reviewed with all the injuries and all the carnage. So let's try to be a little bit more positive. I know it's going to be hard for some of us, so we won't talk about the Eagles at all. Brash, you've been paying particular attention to the young Jags, who yet again were really competitive in Week 2. How do you think they're going to go against the Dolphins and their Fitzmagic approach to Thursday night football? The Jags finally going to get a win from their excellent defense, or is it going to be a battle of the beard against the mustache?
It depends which Fitzmagic shows up. Fitzmagic put up points against a damn good Buffalo defense last week, so I can't see why he wouldn't do the same, providing it's that Fitzmagic that shows up and not the perennial journeyman quarterback that gets shuffled from team to team. That's where that game will be won or lost. The Jaguars have been pleasantly surprising so far with what they've put together. Clearly there's a growth factor that's happening within that organisation. You know, a lot of people don't know. You know, they're not the most high-flying, high-profile organisation, so you'd struggle to name the stars. But they're probably more famous for their departures in recent times for headlines rather than the performances around their players. But I think the Dolphins are probably a little bit further advanced than the Jaguars, and just got a terrible feeling that this might be a bit of a letdown game for them after being up and competitive the first 2 weeks.
Fui, is your back going to heal up in enough time for you to watch it live, or is this going to be one that goes straight to just watch the highlights on YouTube on Saturday morning?
Oh, look, I probably should. I've got the day off, so I probably should be watching it live. It's getting pretty serious, though, isn't it? This Minshew versus Fitzpatrick, with Fitzpatrick saying, "Ooh, I think the beard is cooler. Guys that grow mustaches have patchy sides." And then Minshew has come back with, "Ooh, I think I've shown I can grow a beard with no patchy sides. I have a lot of respect for my elders, especially when they're much older."
So this is really the game sponsored by Manscaped, really. That's the highlight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or lack of.
Blackie, 2 a time or no?
I don't really know what they're doing, because I think I mentioned it somewhere that I think Miami just seem to have the most patient fan base. Any other fan base would be clamouring for Tua, but I haven't heard a peep. It might have something to do with his injury history and not wanting to rush him, but he supposedly has a clean bill of health, and you haven't heard a peep about him starting. I disagree, though. I think this would be Jags the whole way. I think Minshew's look good. I think Robinson, their unheralded running backs, look good. I think their receivers, they've actually got some pretty diverse and decent receivers. Laviska Shenault has looked sensational, and the way they've utilised him has actually been really creative and good. They've used him as a running back. They've lined him up everywhere.
So I do believe
smooth mover.
He looked sensational.
Wow. You can fix that up, right?
And how did you say that surname again? Just for
Shenault.
GG's benefit. Junior.
Shenault.
You're leaving out the junior.
Oh, sorry. And then on their defense, I think CJ Henderson's actually been really, really good. I probably wasn't a believer in him initially. I think Josh Allen has probably been overshadowed by the other Josh Allen, but he's quietly a really, really good player. I think they've got a few good pieces and are trending in the right direction.
So that brings us to the early Sunday games, which I guess from the point of view of a relatively unbiased observer could very well be the showings from some of the younger up-and-coming teams, including what I think is perhaps one of the more interesting opportunities to be creative with how you describe a sporting contest of the Washington against Cleveland, because let's face it, if you use team names and you say "and," you get football team against the Browns, which in today's kind of politically correct environment might well get you a reaction that you're not expecting. Was that worth doing or not? Was that a bad joke or a good joke?
You just go with it, mate. Go with it.
Okay, all right.
You might get cancelled.
I'll have to resign my position in disgrace from this podcast. Did the joke
Sorry,
make
I'll
sense?
make one soon that'll be even worse.
The football team against the Browns? No. Anyway, I'll give it up.
Now I got it.
And conversely, one of the more interesting in kind of a car crash way will be the Texans against the Steelers, two teams that are perhaps receding at a rate of knots. So as the quarterback whisperer, Fui, you're gonna be hanging out to watch Baker against Dwayne, or are you gonna be drawn to instead watch the genius of Fat Ben against the genius of Deshaun?
Look, my team's not playing at 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm still going to get up though, because there's a game that's drawing me in, and it's neither of those games. I'm going to be watching the Bengals and Philly just to see which quarterback gets injured first.
You're really hanging out for that $50 bet at halftime, eh?
That's what we call the GG Cup. That game.
Yeah, he's hanging out for his share of the $50 bet I made because the Nuggets are already on order.
No, I mean, look, in all seriousness, I think the Houston at Pittsburgh game should be pretty good. Yeah, last week I was talking about culture and the Browns' culture being pretty shit. The Steelers' culture is obviously the complete opposite, and they're a team that I don't even particularly like, and I don't think are particularly talented. But I think the culture brings them up, and they're 2-0 at the moment. So yeah, no, I think it's going to be a good game, good competitive game. Like I said, I think Pittsburgh is probably playing above themselves, and Houston a little bit below what they're capable of. But yeah, that's the one to watch, I think.
Blackie, does Big Bill Belichick get the goal line rush correct this time round against the Raiders?
Oh, who knows? I think he's pretty stubborn. He'll probably go for it again. He'll probably get it in, and all his previous indiscretions will be forgotten. It should be an interesting game. I don't think the Raiders will get away with what they got away with against the Saints. I think Bill's too good for that.
Oh, someone's mentioned the Saints. Sunday night football. Aaron Rodgers going to have another win. You already spent your money from your betting winnings, Fui?
Going into the season, I had this marked down as an L for the Packers. Well, I guess we're going to find out if the Saints have regressed or not, aren't we? Because they're probably copying a bit of a hammering in the media a bit. And yeah, let's see what they're made of. The interesting about this game is Michael Thomas is still in a little bit of doubt, and that'll probably go a long way to just deciding the winner, to be honest. But the Saints have sent him to a specialist for his injury, who just happens to be the Green Bay Packers team doctor. And he's going to have the last say on whether he plays or not.
Is that Dr. Anderson?
I think it is, yeah. That sounds about right.
No, it's Dr. Nick.
Dr. Kevorkian.
But, yeah, I think that obviously given he's a Packers team, I guess, official, you might say, he will be completely impartial and fair. So, yeah, it's still an interesting situation, isn't it?
Quarterback rating of Drew Brees with Michael Thomas, 105. Quarterback rating without Michael Thomas, 65. Four intercepts the last 2 weeks. Brees looks old because he now has to throw more than 3.5 yards past the line of scrimmage when Michael Thomas isn't playing. So this game, if Michael Thomas plays, they win. If not, they lose. It's that simple.
Really is the showdown between the two old man quarterbacks in the league. Almost of the week. Every week we seem this year to get a showdown between two older quarterbacks, and this week it's that game. So enjoy that one, Fui. Probably thing I'll be interested in, speaking of old man quarterbacks, is Blackie, how are you going to go against Brady?
I think he's getting pretty close to the end too. I think, it could easily lose because they've probably got their skill players in and we don't. But I don't think they'll win because of Brady. I think last week he should have played pissed off. The run game was established. Evans was back and healthy. Goldman was out, but they've still got a number of options, and he still struggled against a pretty bad secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the baton is officially passed from the old school guys to your Mahomes and Watson and Jackson. So
young Driscoll will just own the old fella. Yeah.
Driscoll's not that young, mate.
Yeah, I know that. That was part of the joke, dude. Anyway, we won't talk about 49ers Giants because I'm worried we'll talk about injuries and surfaces.
I'm just surprised Fui didn't include Nick Mullins in that list. New age quarterback.
Great Southern Miss quarterback, yes.
Yes, that's right. Noodle arm himself.
But I was thinking about having the Giants Niners on at the same time as the Eagles and Bungles, just see who wins the injury race.
With the man with the sore back says he's going to watch other people's injuries and take pleasure in it. He's probably even betting on them, the bastard. One of the most
I think if he even looked at the MetLife surface, he'd probably have a herniated disc or blood.
That's right.
His left leg would drop off. Yeah.
I know, especially with those, that strenuous benchmark of sitting up in bed.
Hey, you're leaving out the exceptional motor control skills required to manage the nugget from the packet to the mouth, right?
Hey, look, I'm doing the same thing right now, so I'm putting my life on the line for you guys.
Louis, if you came from my family, you'd be holding that back injury off until you were doing a pick and collect.
Until I was at work, yeah.
That's right. My back.
Oh.
Pick and collect. Mate, it's a box of spark plugs.
I work with enough Greeks. There's too much of that already.
I'm not Greek, thank God. But, yeah. Anyway, what game?
One of the more low profile, but for me anyway, really jumped out as don't have a clue how it's going to go. Whereas last year, any year in the last 5 years, it would have been a really interesting quarterback battle between Cam and Phil Rivers. Well, now it's Panthers play Chargers, but no Phil Rivers and no Cam Newton. What's going to happen in that one, Brash?
You always give me the most exciting T-Tail games of the week to review. Like, who's playing who? What game is it?
Panthers against Chargers. You've done a musings on this one, which is why I started with you to give the other guys.
By the way, actually, what I will do, I'll take the time allotted me now to advise that the musings, whatever they are, will be having a new format as of next week.
Oh,
yeah. Changing, no more game for game. It'll be sectionalized into a different structure. Put it that way.
Ooh,
and the reason
that's called hype.
Yeah, the reason for that is simple. Because as I've said before, I am the master of the first world problem. There's just not enough time for me to do any sort of research or do anything reasonable with the thing, given games are now permanently on Thursday nights. Yeah. Right, because before, when I started doing it, the first 2 or 3 seasons, Thursday nights only came towards the end of the season. There'd only be like 4 or 5 of them, but now they're every week, and it's just too hard to get through Tuesday and all my other media responsibilities like this podcast and other things. And I do another collaboration with another guy in the US as well. So I'm changing the format from next week.
Exciting.
No game for game. So who are we playing again? What game did you want me to do?
Carolina Panthers at Los Angeles Chargers.
Just skip it.
Yeah.
So clearly everybody's fascinated by this game. I'm dead serious. To me, the interesting thing about it was it's one of those, pick up Blackie's point, and I was actually being serious, to pick up Blackie's point about some teams, what they're all about, and you know how they're going to come out and play. Anytime in the last 5 years, Carolina took on the Chargers, you knew you were going to get Rivers gun and throw and, what he brings to the table, and you knew you were going to get run from Cam and what he brings to the table. And for me, it's almost like mystery against mystery because I don't have a damn clue what either side's going to really do.
Mate, you must have a really good memory because that would only ever happen once every 4 years.
Yes, exactly. But I remember it like it was yesterday.
So those big head-to-head
You've left out the preseason games that they played against each other, but anyway.
Yeah, the big head-to-head battles once every... Let me talk about this game for a second. Because it does have a little bit of relevance. And Blackie was alluding to it before when he was talking about the Chargers. and Herbert where he is. I think there is last year was a bit of a mulligan for the LA teams, the newly located LA teams. They now have their new stadium. Now the current situation with COVID has upset the landscape for the LA football fan, obviously this year, but they got their new stadium and you got two teams there now, two new teams in the Rams and the Chargers. There will be a battle that on establishing their presence and their new fan base with that new stadium now. Yeah, before they were playing in high school stadiums, who cares, and the Coliseum, but now they're for real. Now they've got season tickets for sale. They've got commitments to be made. So I think it's an important time for the Chargers, and they've got to make decisions like, why not go with Herbert? If he's going to be the face of the franchise going forward, then play him. Play him now in these empty stadiums. Get him established. Get him playing time so that next year, when hopefully fans are back in force at the football, there's a bit of buzz and a bit of excitement about the Chargers. So I think they can't just mail in this year or just be underwhelming, because there is much battling the Rams for the LA fan base as they are competing in the NFL. On the other side of the ball with this game, and I wrote it in the Mussing, there are a shitload of offensive skill players now hitting the books tonight, because all of a sudden they're gone, so that play isn't where I just block for McCaffrey or run a decoy for McCaffrey or fake the reverse handoff to McCaffrey. You mean they actually might throw it to me? So it's an interesting week. They'll be hitting the books, because who knows what the Carolina offense is going to look like without McCaffrey. So I'm interested to see that aspect and to see how Bridgewater holds up around that.
Wasn't he getting like 50% of the offensive snaps, Blackie, McCaffrey?
News to me, I thought it was up closer to 90, but I think
70% of the offense.
I think if Herbert doesn't play, the interest levels for this game would pretty much be zero. From the Chargers, there's not much to watch on their side. I think for me, the one shining light will be DJ Moore's going to get absolutely fed with targets. Is going to be between, say, 12 and 18 targets.
Yeah, we probably should start him again, yeah. He's on the bench.
Definitely. We rested him against a weaker team last week, but we'll bring him back in.
Let me just have a look while we're doing that. But, on the Herbert thing, I think he's got to play. He looked good last week, but to be fair, Kansas City were down to like third and fourth string defensive backs that game. And if not for that one boneheaded, absolutely stupid pass into triple coverage when he could have tripped over and got the first down, or probably run another 20 yards anyway, he played well. But I can't believe from that game we still didn't mention the fact that an opposition team actually in overtime punted the ball to Mahomes in that game instead of going for it on fourth down. But anyway, Chargers probably should have won that game. So I'm keen to see if they are any good to run second into that division.
They got a pretty decent young spotty defense in certain positions. So yeah,
they always have. Like San Diego's always had spot fires on their defense, yeah. But they've never really put it all together.
Yep.
Anybody else got anything on that one? The T-Tail game of the week actually might be really interesting.
No.
So I think there's actually quite a few T-Tail games.
Yeah, there are a few. There's some damn hard ones to pick winners on this.
Yeah, AE's going to be real hard this week, the old tipping comp.
Yeah, it's more who's going to suck the least. Like, literally, it's not, last week was pretty straightforward, but yeah, I'm not, TTR game of the week. Let me have a look at the matchups.
So before we get to the game of the week, which I think everybody will agree on, and before we get to that one, Fui, player of the week and rookie of the week offensively?
Ooh, I'm going to say the rookie of the week will be, I'm going to surprise you with this one, Joe Burrows.
Again.
Quite possibly, he is doing really well, though, for a guy who's, not much of a preseason and, starting his first couple of games. So, he's doing really well. Player of the week. Ooh, I think it'll come from the game we're going to be talking about soon, and might possibly play the quarterback position. Whoever wins that game will be that quarterback will be the best player of the week.
So you've set the precedent for Blackie because you've been unable to make a nice, simple, easy pick. So we'll get, no doubt, 43 answers to this one. Blackie, coach of the week and dud coaching move of the week.
Throwing me a curveball here. I think you can't go past Gase to be the dud coach of the week. I think one thing that was touched on earlier was somebody mentioned that the Jets don't have an identity, or you can't tell what their plan is. I actually disagree. I think there has been cohesion to what they've tried to do in terms of personnel moves, but they just have zero traction because Gase is just a dumpster fire. Like, they've got Darnold, they pick up Becton, who's actually been pretty good. They pick up Mims, he's got injured. They pick up Bell to try and be a versatile back, but the coach literally injures him. Quinnen Williams has actually been all right. They've made some decent moves. Jamal Adams wanted out, so they traded him. I actually think there's been cohesion to that, but their coach just sucks. But in terms of good coaching for the week, that is a very, very tough one. I think it will be... I'm going to throw a curveball here. I actually think Washington looked better in the second half of the last game, and it wouldn't surprise me if their offense looks a lot better against the Browns this week. I think Gibson's actually a decent player. Sims is okay. McLaurin's obviously really good. It all hinges on Haskins, but he might surprise a few people this week. The second half of the last game was anything to go by.
Brash, which media correct will be which defensive player will be defensive player of the week, and which rookie will be defensive rookie of the week? Here's a hint: don't pick Eric Armstead. Yeah.
Nah, he's in my bad books. Stupid arm tail. I think Brandon Ayuk's going to go off this because, and I'll tell you why.
He's going to play defense, is he?
No, you said rookie of the week. I don't have to answer in order, do I? You said rookie of the week, didn't you? Rookie of the week. I'm pretty sure. On defense, give a rat.
And no, I want to hear the logic how Noodle Arm Mullins is going to force it to the deep threat.
Because Ayuk is not a deep threat wide receiver. He is a run after catch beast. He runs out of the slot, and because he's been playing second string all training camp, and Mullins has been getting most of the second string reps in training camp, he'll be the receiver he is most comfortable with against a very average Giants secondary. So I expect him to go well. Defensive player of the week. Name anybody on the Philadelphia or who are they playing again? Cincinnati defensive line.
Thank you, Philly, for answering. Hey, what'd you say, Blackie?
Just say Sam Hubbard.
Isn't he a movie star?
I thought he wrote that book on Scientology.
That's L. Ron Hubbard, but he'll be similarly famous after this weekend, I think.
Which brings us on very neatly to the game of the week, the one standout game. And my God, it was hard to get any kind of excitement about the festival of suck that is the entirety of Thursday and Sunday football. But my God, Monday Night Football is an absolute pearler. And potentially AFC Championship preview, potentially. Would you agree with that, Fui?
I wouldn't even say potentially. I think it's a guarantee, to be honest. There's probably no. They're probably the two best teams in the NFL right now. It's kind of going back to the 90s NFC when it was the Packers and the Cowboys. Or the Packers in the 90s.
I knew we'd have to be talking about the Packers. God damn.
And hang on, trust Fui to make the AFC about the NFC.
Not but just that, he made it about the goddamn Packers.
Incredible.
But I'm just saying that's what it's like, where the two best teams are going to be playing off in the conference championship.
Blackie's going to hate my answer to this, and if he didn't like that situation.
I'm really looking forward to this one. I might even stay awake for it. after I come home from work.
Next.
Has anyone actually given a tip for this?
No, we haven't even had a chance. Well, actually, Philly, did you give a tip?
I didn't give a tip.
You were
I
the
don't
first
know.
ask.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to win this.
Good.
I'll say the Chiefs just because Mahomes is Mahomes, and he's my quarterback. So
Mahomes. I agree with you, Fui. This is absolutely for the division. For the conference title, because these teams will probably run the table outside of this game. No one even comes close to them. Sorry, Blackie, but unlike the NFC West, where you have multiple teams who will be vying for the number one seed and jockeying for playoff position, and we already spoke about Green Bay and why I think they've got the inside running anyway. I don't see any other teams in the AFC even coming close to these two teams when it matters. That's why I was a little annoyed with the Chargers last week for not upsetting Kansas City, because I'd be rooting a lot harder for the Kansas City Chiefs to win this week to make it a more interesting test. The new playoff rules are so stacked to the number one seed now in the conference. And this is virtually the opening bout. This is the dress rehearsal for the AFC Championship game. Yeah. And the worst thing is it's at Baltimore. The result of this game may well mean that it's a repeat of Kansas City going to Baltimore for the AFC Championship game. As far as a tip goes, I'm taking Baltimore just because I think their defense is a little bit better than Kansas City's at the moment. And when it matters, they will make one or two more stops than what the Chiefs will be able to do when the game's on the line.
I think everyone's giving or potentially forgetting about previous transgressions in the postseason by Baltimore. They've looked pretty shambolic both the last two runs. So I don't know where people are getting the impression that they're a walk-up start to the conference championship game. That said, I think they're going to win this particular bout.
I just think, Blackie, it's a good point. I just think with the way they've stacked the playoff scenarios now, that even a colly-wobbly Baltimore would be able to stumble into the AFC Championship, given the quality of the AFC past these two. And apologies to Buffalo, they're probably on the next tier. But beyond that, it's a gulf between those two plus Buffalo, then the rest. I don't think the Patriots will be there or thereabouts at the end of the year. And looking around the AFC South, I don't think Indy or Texas are in the same league. I just think I absolutely agree with you. Baltimore have struggled a bit at the pointy end of the season, but if they win this, they've got it. They'll stumble into the AFC Championship game and it'll be at home. What do you think, BPG?
The Eagles suck.
I tell you one thing I'll be doing with this game. I won't be turning on the television to watch it until kickoff, because it's going to be like throw up in your mouth a little bit for the love fest. Like Lamar Jackson, Pat and all the stories and what they did when they were 3 years old, walking around his locker room in the when he was baseball. Mate, I guarantee I won't be turning this on until the game starts.
You'll just be wallowing in the injury report from the 49ers game. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'll be searching the waiver wire.
I thought you'd be dreaming up the lawsuit against MetLife Stadium on behalf of all 49ers fans who were robbed of a season and should therefore be compensated in an appropriate way.
Look, I'll reserve judgment for 2 more weeks on what the 49ers do, right? Please don't say all of a sudden now what was the most complete team in football last year is all of a sudden a one-man band with Bosa. So let me reserve 2 weeks judgment on it.
To be fair, more than just Bosa's been injured. So I think if anything, the injury...
Yeah, but the rest are coming back. Yeah, and unlike, I know we shouldn't be talking about the NFC West when this is an AFC, still a matchup. Sorry, Blackie, but the best thing about being in the NFC West is, other than our week 1 loss to Arizona, none of the other teams have played each other in that division. So there are losses. Yes, there will be wins to go around, but there'll also be losses. Yeah. So, Rams will lose games to Seattle and vice versa and blah, blah, blah. So it's not over yet. I won't be, as I said in the Mussings, I've got a bet that the fourth place finisher in the NFC West will have a better record than the winner of the NFC East.
Gee, that's a big call. Not.
Well,
The NFC East is potentially on track to be the first division to send someone to the playoffs, depending on how many draws they have, with a record of fewer than 6 wins. It's that bad a division this year that you can see them actually having multiple draws in the divisional games and winding up sending somebody that's like 6 and
multiple draws.
oh, GG's got nothing on me when I'm in this sort of a mood, I'll tell you.
Well, Dallas has got 6 wins already interdivisional, yeah?
Aren't we just at week 3?
But they've got 6 wins interdivisional. They're not going to lose to the Giants, or they shouldn't lose to the Giants, to Eagles, right?
They've had their 1 in 440 game. Who knows what's going to happen next when they play? Plus,
well, the floor is 7,
Dak Prescott.
right? The floor is 7. The floor is 7, okay?
All right, mark it here. You heard it here first. The
All
floor
right.
is lower than 7.
Overs or unders are 7.
Yes. Anyway, so yes, my thoughts on the game of the week. A clear AFC Championship preview in most people's minds. For what it's worth, I think the Chiefs are actually a worse team than last year, and worse by quite some considerable margin on defense. And I think, much as Chris Jones has played really well and absolutely in both week 1 and week 2 was, really integral to the defensive efforts that they put out there on the field. The reality is that apart from him, they're much weaker than they have been. And I think that's going to show over the course of the season. And I reckon Buffalo are too talented and too evenly spread to not make it into the AFC Championship game. So that's my prediction, is that the championship game will be Baltimore against Buffalo, not Kansas City. So this is my week of wild predictions. I've obviously had, with no pick 6 from GG, somebody's got to put himself out there on a limb.
I was going to say, has GG just replaced you somehow? Give us back BPG, please.
Yeah, you should be so lucky, because at least you'd be getting good sound effects instead of the trope that my production skills produce. I can't even get a decent zipper sound going. But yeah, it really was a pretty hard week to get excited about for me. Anything else jump out that you want to talk about, Blackie?
No, not really.
Gee, sounds like he's depressed about the Broncos' chances already.
No, I might have a win. Tight losses to 2 playoff sides. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I'm a bit bullish about Denver going forward. I reckon it's just sad to lose those 2. Because this is 2 years in a row Locke's been not fit. So I really want to see him, but I really rate him. I don't know why. I just think he's got a bit more than a lot of other guys that come a lot more highly heralded than him. Otherwise, you go and get Trevor Lawrence.
No, not bad enough for that. I think the Jets have that on lockdown.
Yeah, but what are they going to do? They're going to get rid of Donald already?
Yeah, they'll get a new coach in and they'll sell the dream that they'll take Lawrence, and that'll buy him an extra few years, and that'll be that.
Yeah.
You don't decline that. I think 32 teams would take him, to be honest. I think the only team that might not take him would be the Bengals.
You reckon the Chiefs would take him?
No, I think they'd probably trade him.
I think the 49ers I reckon some team's going to go all in and take. I reckon the Jets will get the number 1 pick, and because didn't Gase bring in his own GM as well, or a mate of his?
Surely, if they finish first, they're all getting fired.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think their GM's been all right.
He's an ex-Eagles front office staffer, the old, isn't he? If I remember rightly.
Yeah, I don't know. But someone's going to come hard. There's a few teams that... See, that's why I thought Indy was such a special to tank and go for him. Because putting Philip Rivers in...
They've got history.
They've got history. Philip Rivers is not the guy you bring in to continue any sort of dynasty. Interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I don't even know how Lawrence has been going so far this year.
Not the whole college season has not been smooth. It's fair to say. Certainly get a lot of media hype, but I think it's I'm not yet. I mean, he's going to be better than Johnny Football, but I'm not convinced that you're necessarily going to see him come out and hit pro football and be a brilliant NFL quarterback. As we're seeing. Hey.
I'll ask the Whisperer. Is he better than Burrows?
Ooh.
No one's better than Burrows.
No, but I get that. But okay, is he in the same postcode as?
I don't think he is, to be honest. That's just an opinion, but I don't think he is.
Be interesting. Be interesting if he ended
Agree
up.
to disagree there. I think by the time the draft rolls around, they'll be calling him the best prospect since Luck.
See, Burrow to me is Peyton Manning, 1998. That's where I rate him, but that's hard to top. So
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about Burrow. So I'm a bit worried about the fact of where he's ended up.
That'll work out. You can't.
I don't know.
Draft.
No, that dink and dunk shit. No. I'm a bit worried that the Bengals will manage to stuff it up somehow.
If anyone can, they can.
Yeah.
But no, I'm okay with it for the moment. But I'm not saying Lawrence is rubbish by any means. I just have a really high opinion of Burrows.
Yeah.
Really? Are you sure? Did you want to add anything else to the week that was, or the week that's going to come, Fui?
I'm surprised we didn't give a bit of a run to the Rams and the Bills. To be honest, it's a game that kind of legitimizes the team that wins. So I'm actually looking forward to that one as well.
You actually seriously believe that Goff can win in Buffalo?
Well, if he does that legitimize the LA Rams?
It's Jared Goff.
They won't win that.
Probably not
because so much because of Goff, but they have to do fly in, fly out. They're already on the East Coast once this week. Last week, they're going to go back again. I don't know why they didn't stay on the East Coast, but they chose to flow up and down, and they've got to do that. It's an early time slot. It'll be tough for the Rams to get up for that one. And the two teams that, to be fair, the two teams that the Rams have played so far have lacked the one thing that upsets Goff very easily, and that's deception. And the Bills are a pretty good defensive team. So I won't put it all on Goff that they'd lose, but I think it's stacked against the Rams winning that one.
Oh, I still think it'll be a good game.
It will be. I'll be watching it because I want them to lose. But especially when I switch off our game after we lose another half a dozen after 5 minutes. It's all I need, like seriously. But yeah, I think that'll be a good game. That's in the top 2 or 3 games of the week. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty average week, so yeah, that one stands out. And there's a lot of games actually potentially you're going to watch it because you want to see how much of a car crash it's going to be. Like if I'm going to switch the Jets on, it's to see what screwy things Adam Gase does this week, or if I'm watching the Lions, it's not because it's going to be a good game. It's because I want to see how Matt Patricia stuffs things up even more than he has in the past.
But you got to admit, watching Detroit lose is fun. They do it. They do it in such colourful ways.
Yeah.
I actually felt sorry for DeAndre Swift in week 1 because he'd actually played a really bloody good game, I thought, for a rookie, and then just Lions did up and did that massive drop, and that's all he'll ever be known as now. He could go on and win 2 Super Bowls, and he'll be known as the dude that dropped the pass.
I think they might forget him if Detroit wins a couple of Super Bowls and he's on that roster. I don't think they'll remember him dropping a pass in the end zone in week 1. Yep.
So which games that jump out to you, Brash, that we haven't talked about? Anything, or is that it?
Games that Fui highlight the game. I do want to watch. I will be making a point of watching the Denver game. Just to see Jason Driscoll Driscoll for shits and giggles. And I haven't seen anything of Brady yet, so I just wanted to put a beady eye on seeing if it's bad as everyone's been telling me. The Green Bay New Orleans game, I really have no interest in watching because defenses don't play in those games. And
obviously, you've forgotten my Rashawn Gary comment already.
No, I think he's more gently and subjectively advising you that a linebacker who in the first 2 games against shithouse weak opponents looks really appealing to a fan of the Packers.
This is
perhaps may not actually be a real solid linebacker.
I think the term isn't so much BPG that I forgot it as I noted it and disregarded it. Please remember that, and we've all been subjected to this, but we've copped the Clay Matthews love for the last 5 years. So enough is enough, yeah.
What's that? It's that number 52.
Even my Google my Google, my Samsung Alexa, or whatever it's called, just yelled out at me and said, "I do not understand that." So yeah, I know I don't understand the love for Gary either. But no. Other than that, no. Dallas and Seattle is the other one for obvious reasons.
Blackie, I think you've already said no, but just to confirm, nothing else you wanted to mention about next week's games?
I was just going to select my rookies of the week.
Cool.
Please.
Michael Pittman for the Colts with Paris Campbell out. I think he's going to get fed with targets. And a more boring pick is, I think Chase Young's going to go ballistic. I'm actually pretty bullish about Washington's prospects this week overall.
Actually, so this is what I like about this podcast. You guys put on angles on game that I haven't seen Chase Young either in any length of time at all. Seeing how real this Cleveland renaissance is with him going, yeah, that would be very interesting.
I think he's going to Chase Young, and it isn't just Chase Young. To be fair, that Washington
they're no joke. They're real.
D line has some real quality in it. They didn't actually play all that brilliantly in week 2 in the first half, but they stiffened up in the second half. They were much better. As Blackie noted, Washington generally was much better in the second half. I think Snyder was off being distracted by the cheerleaders in the second half, and so it was less of an interference with the team. I think, I'm really interested because I think, much to American Crow's chagrin, I think their offensive line will be found out a little bit, and they don't really have the deep threats to be able to expose Washington in the same way they were sort of exposed in the first half last week. But yeah, having watched Chase Young for 2 full games live, get on it. All right, go have a watch. It's actually, if you're going to watch a player next, and God forbid he gets injured, I'll feel like an idiot if that happens. But he is really one of the bright sparks in the rookie ranks this year for me. And clearly, as opposed to, is Trevor Lawrence going to be ready next year? No doubt at all. When he came out of college, he was ready, and he's proven that absolutely true from the very first snap. Even though he's had no preseason and no real lead into the NFL, he's just as good as anything that's out there. And he could be better than Aaron Donald within 2 years, and it's just frightening what that means in a really good way, some really exciting way.
Yeah, I tell you one thing that
unless you're Carson.
Unless you're Carson, yeah. I tell you one thing that I found annoying more than anything else was the skew of time slots of games last week. There were a massive number of games in the early Sunday time slot, and I think only 3 games in the afternoon time slot, Sunday afternoon. So it makes it really hard to get across all these games. And then especially in the afternoon. And I guess maybe I noticed it more is because normally the 49ers play the late time slot, being on the West Coast. But being early, like there was, I found myself channel surfing all over the place on in the afternoon game, trying to get something exciting to watch ahead of the Sunday night game. But anyway, that's like I said, I am the master of the first world problem. But I just don't understand why they do that. I guess there's a very good reason if they go into their ratings and everything. The NFL would be masters of that sort of stuff. But it's just odd that when you've got 16 games, that you only have 3 on the late Sunday afternoon.
Well, if it helps this week, it's a bit more even. It's 8 and 5. So.
Oh, okay, that's better. Because I can understand, like, Philly, like when there's bye weeks, but everyone's playing at the moment. It's a full clip of 16 games. That to only have 3 in the afternoon, it was pretty sparse.
Well, early heads up, week 4 only has 3 in the afternoon as well. So
I think the 49ers play late. So personally, I don't care. Yeah. But I don't care about that then. But and the Giblets should have pretty well won by then anyway. So it's all good.
So that brings us neatly to some real lifetime feedback that we've had from our one listener, wherein GGX has just posted on the Big Footy board that things move pretty fast among 4 speakers, so mispronounced words' names makes it even tougher. So hat tip to GG and his carefully considered and useful feedback. We'll now have a quick chat about fantasy football. It'll go for about 3 minutes. And to lead us off, I'll throw to Faye. So Faye, how's your team in butter gonna go?
I did okay this week. Did okay. So I think I might be on my way back. I've got my 3 quarterbacks. So and the rest of my skill positions are starting to get into line. And defense is playing as well. I had a pickup of Micah Kaiser from the Rams, who's a tackling machine. So I'm in good shape.
And Blashai, what's your waiver wire claim going to be in the Buffalo League?
I think that's already,
We already
it's
made
already
it.
gone.
Pick a player with an interesting name and deliberately mispronounce the player's name. This is about giving GG shit.
Oh, Anthony Gibson from the football team.
Thank you. And Brash, now you've been given a preview of what we're looking for. Brasha!
Yeah.
How many points you going to lose by in AE in your big
Lose?
Yes.
False question, mate. Trick question. I'm going to win. I'm back. I know what I'm doing now. It helps when you actually know there's competition. You're participating in. Right?
So, Gigi, I hope the pronunciation was more appropriate for you, and we look forward to your feedback next week. While you're at considered and careful feedback, can you tell Stephen Gerrard to shove his posts up his little PC spot? And thank you for your pronunciation advice. Here's my big fantasy tip from for the week. I think Brash will only get 6 tips right. Blackie will get 8, and Fui will get 3. So that's my call.
On AE?
On AE. Just interestingly, having just slagged out GG, I did want to mention in passing that GG got the score of 132, which I believe is pretty close to the highest score he's ever had. And
that's for a whole season. So.
That was actually funny. Very good. And I believe somebody else might have the website open, but I believe it was actually a week, and it probably just reflected the nature of the draw. But I believe almost everybody tipped at least 10 wins. I know I had 10, and shit, anytime I pick 10 winners, it's got to be an easy week to pick. Easy week this week to pick, or just so boring that nobody gives a shit about anything except Monday night?
I think it's actually fairly easy, yeah. I've just been looking at it, and I think I'm in for another good score.
Well, what I might say, I think home team rule.
Blackie, did you like the photos for the podcast postings? You like the turkey shots?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
It almost sounds dirty. Do you like the turkey shots?
I was so thinking Blackie would pick that up, but he didn't. He just missed it altogether.
Turkey shot.
I'm too pure.
On that.
It's that isolationism, right? Get out, mate. Get out in the real world.
That's right.
Get your mind out of the gutter, Philly.
Get out in the world.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for the contribution, and GG, thank you for being a listener and giving us feedback. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good
Thank
week.
you.